All right, let's jump right in. Today we're talking about one of the most significant updates to IT infrastructure we've seen in a long, long time, the evolution of Active Directory in Windows Server 2025. And believe me, this is way more than just a simple patch. We're talking about a serious modernization.
So let's just get the big question out of the way right now. In a world that is so cloud first, where Entra ID is becoming central to everything, does on-premise Active Directory even matter anymore? And you know what? That's a totally fair question to be asking. Well, Microsoft's answer with Windows Server 2025 is a loud and clear, absolutely. They're basically signaling that a strong, modern on-prem AD isn't just relevant, it's actually more critical than ever, especially for all of us living in these hybrid environments.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with why this is such a huge leap forward. We'll do a quick recap of the basics just to make sure we're on the same page. Then we'll dive into the really cool stuff, the performance and security boosts. And finally, we'll wrap up with how you can actually plan your upgrade path.
Okay, let's get into it. The changes in Windows Server 2025 really changed the whole conversation around Active Directory. It's no longer this legacy system that we're just trying to keep the lights on for. Nope, it's now being treated as a core piece of our infrastructure that is actively evolving to handle today's challenges.
For decades now? We've seen AD as the classic backbone of our internal networks, right? But this update completely repositions it. Now the whole story is about being hybrid ready, way more secure, and built for the kind of performance that modern businesses demand. It's a huge acknowledgement that on-prem isn't going anywhere. It's just getting better integrated.
Now, before we jump into all the new goodies, let's do a super quick refresher on the two most foundational concepts in AD architecture. Because honestly, if you get these, you'll really grasp why the 2025 updates are such a big deal.
First up, the Forest. The easiest way to think about this is to picture a giant multinational corporation. The Forest is the entire company. It is the ultimate security boundary. Absolutely everything, every single domain, user, and policy lives inside this one container.
Then, inside that forest, you have your domains. So if the forest is the whole corporation, a domain might be a specific division or maybe a regional headquarters. It's basically a logical partition that helps you manage stuff like users and computers. And it's also where authentication and replication happen within its own boundary.
All right, now for the really fun stuff. Let's talk about performance. Because Windows Server 2025 is bringing some of the biggest architectural improvements to Active Directory that we have seen in a very, very long time. I just want you to remember this one number. 32K. This single change is an absolute game changer, especially for anyone running a large-scale environment.
So what's the deal with 32K? Well, for the first time ever, Active Directory is running on a database with a 32 kilobyte page size. That's a huge jump from the 8K we've been stuck with for years. The real-world impact is massive. AD can now handle way bigger directories with much, much better performance. But, and this is the most important part, you only get this superpower when you raise your entire environment to the new native 2025 functional level.
And the performance upgrades don't stop there. Microsoft is finally modernizing how clients find domain controllers. They are getting rid of those ancient, clunky methods that relied on wins and mail slots. I mean, come on. And they're moving to a much cleaner, way more reliable DNS-based algorithm. This is a huge win for network efficiency.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk security. Because look, performance is awesome, but in the world we live in today, security is absolutely everything. And Windows Server 2025 brings some really powerful new tools to the table for hardening our AD. The headline feature here is something called Delegated Managed Service Accounts, or DMSAs for short. You can think of this as a direct counterattack against common threats like Kerberoasting, or bad actors are trying to snatch service account credentials.
So how does this actually work? It's honestly pretty brilliant. When a service needs to authenticate, the DMSA essentially locks its credentials directly to the identity of that specific computer. What that means is, even if an attacker somehow manages to steal those credentials, they are completely and utterly useless on any other machine. It's a perfect example of moving to smarter, identity-based security.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, wow, these performance and security benefits sound amazing. And the next logical question is, so how do I get there? Let's break down the practical steps for planning your upgrade. So the baseline for getting started is pretty strict, and it's totally non-negotiable. Before you can even think about introducing your first 2025 domain controller, every single DC in your forest must be running Windows Server 2016 at a minimum.
And your forest and domain functional levels, they also have to be at 2016. There are absolutely no workarounds for this.
So, to boil it all down for your plan, first things first, get everything up to at least Server 2016. Then, once all your DCs are running 2025, you can raise the forest functional level. And the cool part is that automatically cascades down and raises all your domain levels too. It's also worth pointing out that if you're starting fresh, Microsoft is still recommending a simple, single-domain forest to keep things from getting too complex.
If you only remember one thing about this whole upgrade process, please let it be this. Just installing Windows Server 2025 on a new DC, that just gives you compatibility. But the real power, the 32K database, the new security features, all of that is only unlocked when you commit and you raise the functional level of the entire forest.
So here's the bottom line. Windows Server 2025 proves that Active Directory is not some dusty old relic. It's not just surviving in this cloud-first world. It's actively evolving to become a faster, more secure, and frankly, more essential part of our modern hybrid infrastructure.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. With all these powerful new capabilities, how does this change the way we think strategically? What is the new, elevated role for a modernized on-prem Active Directory in the incredibly complex hybrid world of tomorrow? That's the real question, isn't it?